Never ceases to amaze me the power I have. So I just wish I had it at home with my children. I was just saying earlier, downgraded, downsized a little bit from last year. I think it's better. I think it's better because I've got you. I've got you, finally. Can weave my magic. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Brendan. I'm the cultural representative, cultural educator for Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council in Sydney. And under our Land Rights Act, our Aboriginal land councils are the cultural authority and the guardians and custodians of land within our boundaries. In our perfect world, every organisation that works on our land should have a relationship with the Land Council. As we are the next best thing to traditional owners, because as most of us are aware, there's no traditional owners left. No traditional owners left within the Sydney, and I ask you to take note in that, because if you've ever asked, or if you are ever asked to do an acknowledgement of country, have a good think about what I've just said, no traditional owners left. So my question always is, what are you then acknowledging? Learn the history of the lands. Because as far as I'm concerned, I live here and you live here. My history should be your history, and vice versa. I can tell you the history of every race in this country. How many can say that about us? My history should be everyone's history. Most of us will continue to talk about not always the positiveness of the history, but how are we supposed to heal if it's not acknowledged? How are we supposed to heal? Very briefly, my introduction and who I am. I was born in 1971 at Crown Street Women's Hospital, Surrey Hills. Is there Crown Street babies amongst us? Always Crown Street babies. 1971, Crown Street Women's Hospital. And for me, unfortunately, that was the last place that I ever felt my mother's touch, 1971. My mother was taken as well at the age of 5. My aunties and uncles all taken, my first cousins all taken. 7 years ago, I was able to find Mum's grave 7 years ago. So I'm born and bred here in Sydney. I've lived here my whole life. And due to the powers to be, Sydney's home. Sydney, I was forced to make Sydney my home. Traditionally not from here. But I didn't know where I was from up until 7 years ago, and I found Mum's grave. Now, when I found Mum's grave, I realised I'm one of 10 siblings, because all the names were written on Mum's tombstone. My name was missing. I was able and lucky enough to meet, out of the 7 aunties and uncles, there was one auntie, the eldest one. I was able to meet her. She passed away early this year. I've met 3 brothers and 1 sister. We haven't spoken for 5 years. You can't have a relationship. So much trauma and abuse amongst family makes it very hard. But these are passed on to the next generation. My children will never have a relationship with any member of my side of the family. Never have a relationship with their cousins, their uncles, aunties. Never knew Nan, never know Pop. And look, I've had those words in my life, brother, sister, mum, dad. I've had those words in my life. But once I found my blood family, I understood the power that comes with those words, the true meaning and the power that comes with those words. So briefly, that's my history, my connection to country. I wasn't black enough to play with the black kids, and I wasn't white enough to play with the white kids. So I copped it from both sides of the fence and gave it back, both sides of the fence as well. I've been called every race under the sun in my life. Every race under the sun. I remember I was living in Newtown for a while. If you know Newtown, it's a beautiful Greek community in Newtown. I remember those old people talking to me in their language. I said, I don't know what you're saying. They always say to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, you look like you come from Cyprus." So I got sick of them trying to claim me. I moved to Marrickville. I discovered the Maltese community in Marrickville. The same thing, and it still happens today. "Oh, you sure you're not a Fenwick? You look like a Fenwick." So no, my nose is a lot straighter. The Fenwicks. I went to primary school where it was compulsory for everyone to learn Arabic. So of course came the Lebanese Middle Eastern label as well. 6 months of age, I used to run away from home. Police would pick me up and idiots would buy me a gift every time they'd pick me up. So I thought, this is great, I'll just keep running away and getting another gift. They took me to the wrong house one day. They took me back to a house 5 houses up the road because that's where the Italian family was living. So I collected all these labels, and I thought about it one day, and back then I never had a beard, didn't have a beard, but I thought about this one day. I thought, if I grow a beard, and I apologise for stereotyping, if I bought a big gold cross and I went and robbed a bank, what would the description of the bank robber be? I might be able to get away with it here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I never robbed the bank. I did seriously think about it. For a while I did, I'll be honest, I did think about it. So that's my life, my history, the country. And again, our history, my history should be everyone's history. Tonight we're gathered on the lands of the Gadigal. Gadi means grass tree, Gal means people. These are the lands of the grass tree people. The grass tree people, the Gadigal, shared a songline, and it's a journey of an animal. We believe created Sydney Harbour and all the rivers and waterways off the harbour. Burra. Burra is the eel. Goat Island is called Meemau. That's actually the head of the eel. Burra, Meemau. This eel goes on a journey, a migratory journey every year, swims all the way down from Burra-Madigal, eel country, Parramatta. Swims all the way down the rivers and waterways into Sydney Harbour. Off they go over to Vanuatu. They turn around and they come all the way back. This should give you insight into how deep our connection to all living things on land and water go. Burra the eel. It's not just about the journey in brief. It's about everything that eel goes through and comes across whilst going on that journey. That makes it the songline. So this is the land of the Gadigal, the songline of Burra, the eel. Gadigal are one of 29 tribes that make up the Eora Nation. The boundaries for the Eora start from the ocean, surrounded by 3 of Australia's most beautiful rivers. The Hawkesbury, the Nepean and the Georges rivers. In between those 3 mighty and beautiful rivers, there are 29 clans that make up the Eora. The name of the clan you're gathered on here tonight is Gadigal. So always, first and foremost, on behalf of those Gadigal ancestors, we believe their spirit is still in the lands and the waters. On behalf of Metropolitan Aboriginal Land Council as the cultural authority on these lands, it gives me great honour to welcome you here tonight. Welcome to Gadigal country. A welcome to country ceremony is a ceremony we've been doing for 250,000 years plus BC. And the BC stands for before Cook. It's never a welcome to Australia. It's always a welcome to the lands you're gathered on. And it's not a ceremony we've invented to cater for white people, even though it pays a lot more now than it did traditionally. This is our welcome to country. Always an honour for me to perform this ceremony, and I always thank the host for having me. Because by having me here, you become a part of the rejuvenation of our tradition and culture back on country. So welcome to Gadigal country. I'm just going to finish off by playing a song on the Yidaki, not didgeridoo. Didgeridoo is a white man's word. There are 50 different language names for this instrument, and not one of us call it a didgeridoo. Not one of us. I used to call it yulby back in the day. I used to busk up at a lovely place called King's Cross. So you can imagine the type of people that would annoy me while I was up there playing. Play the didge, brother. Do this on the didge, brother. What about this, brother, on the didge? I said, it's good. You'll be sore when I hit you with it, so keep moving. I know I'm short for time, but I feel I need to explain. When the first white man heard this instrument, he heard a song, because Yidaki means voice. So when we play, we sing through it while we play. There's a language. When the first white man heard this instrument, it's believed he heard a song. Didgeridoo, didgeridoo. Very smart man, that man. Because he saw these playing, and he went, oh, they're called tapping sticks. Very smart man. Possibly related to the same man that named Manly Manly. Do we all know how Manly got its name? Oh, let me enlighten you very quickly. When Captain Phillip sailed through the Heads, he pulled his telescope out and he looked across at what's now Manly Beach. He sung out to his offsider and he said, I say, come hither. And his offsider hithered and pulled his telescope out and he looked across and his comment was, oh, they're quite manly. He's looking at naked Aboriginal men on the beach. This is how Manly got its name. May not have happened the way I said it happened. But I dare anyone in the room to prove me wrong. Shared history. So I'd just like to finish off by playing a welcome song on the Yidaki, and thank you for having me. And look, I'd give my apologies. I'd love to stay, but I have to go and pay a white man by the name of Wilson for parking on my own land. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Uncle Brendan Karen, for your moving and powerful and beautiful welcome to country. And what a significant way to begin tonight's proceedings. Welcome to the library. We're delighted to see you all here. It's a place for all readers, writers and researchers, for curious minds, for exploring ideas and for understanding history. We meet tonight in what you can all see is the most beautiful auditorium in Sydney. Directly above us is the Grand Mitchell Reading Room, full of students and readers and writers working away. Next to us is the Governor Marie Bashir Reading Room, also full of activity, and you would have seen that as you came in. We are quite literally in the middle of the living and breathing heart of learning and literature in Sydney. And I'm also pleased to welcome you all here. You're always welcome at the State Library of New South Wales, and welcome to all of those who are tuning in online across Australia. For Mother's Day, in amongst the bath salts, and there literally were bath salts this year, I was given a new book, The Secret Lives of Booksellers and Librarians, True Stories of the Magic of Reading. And in the first few pages that I looked at last night, the writer said, today's booksellers and librarians are not the sitcom stereotypes who give judgy looks when someone brings the latest bestseller to the counter, or who will shush an over-enthusiastic teen to churchy quiet from 60 metres away. Today's booksellers and librarians are extraordinarily good at understanding and motivating. What they do is crucial for the country. They understand in their hearts and souls that in the beginning was the Word. And so tonight we celebrate the Word. We celebrate writing and we celebrate illustration. And of course we celebrate publishing and reading. The New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards began in 1979 and are the oldest running and indeed the richest in Australia. They've been recognising the work of writers for 4.5 decades. That's quite something, and we are, of course, the premier state after all. The library is a source of knowledge and discovery, as we all know, and I'm sure this was the place where many of you were inspired to write the books that have been shortlisted tonight. We give you the information, but we don't tell you what to think. We provide both essential services and magical experiences and everything in between. Of course, we've been reminded of this clearly and powerfully in the last 3 weeks, of the value of libraries, access to information, and that they are deeply treasured places by the community. Yes, we're gatherers and sharers of documents, books and paintings and manuscripts and all those great things, but we are also tonight the gatherers of people to connect, to study, to feel part of something much bigger through uncovering the past and making sense of the present. Tonight, of course, also, as is the tradition, is the start of the Sydney Writers' Festival, that wonderful week we look forward to each year, and it runs all week until Sunday. I encourage you to come back to the library many times, but specifically for a number of events which the library will host, including 3 of tonight's winners in conversation tomorrow over lunch. And finally, I'm really pleased that tonight we're joined by our Minister for the Arts, John Graham, by our Library Council President, the Honourable George Souris, and indeed the full Library Council is here tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'd also like to welcome members of our Foundation Board, including our Chair, Rob Thomas, representatives of Multicultural New South Wales and Create New South Wales, and lastly, I'd like to acknowledge every reader in this room, and of course our writers. Books don't make sense without people to read them and people to write them. I acknowledge the generous support of our sponsors Multicultural New South Wales, the University of Technology Sydney and the University of Sydney. And now it's my very great pleasure to introduce the wonderful and dedicated Library Council President, the Honourable George Souris.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and I join Caroline in thanking Uncle Brendan for his most generous welcome. I certainly feel welcome, and I'm sure you all do, but I also would wish to acknowledge that there are 396 libraries in the Public Library Network, also a part of Aboriginal land, and I think the acknowledgement, we are the State Library and we represent them all, and the acknowledgement I give is on their behalf as well. I'm delighted that our Minister, the Honourable John Graham, is here with us, and I'll introduce him in a moment. But I would also like to add to Caroline's words that I'm delighted to be with you here tonight to celebrate the New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards. These awards shine a light on our rich and diverse literary community and the incredible work of writers. It's wonderful to be with you here this evening in our completely full auditorium. If it was possible that it would be double this size, it would also be full. It's an interesting observation that these literary awards really attract the writers, the authors, the publishers, the literary community. Anyone associated with a library feels that they are a part of tonight's proceedings and look forward eagerly to the results of them. Caroline's already mentioned that we have our Library Council all here with us, as well as the Library Foundation. And I must point out, and with great enjoyment I must say, the former librarian, State Librarian John Vallance has also joined us here. John, I thought you were wonderful. Caroline, I don't know, you might even be better. I don't know. I don't know whether I should have said that. It is a great pleasure to welcome our Minister for the Arts, the Honourable John Graham, who's joining us here tonight. He is a frequent attender of events and ceremonies at the library, in this room and in other parts of the library. We regard him as a friend of the State Library, and we're very delighted that he's able to be here again with us this evening, keeping his record at 100% with the Premier's Literary Awards. As I say, he's a great supporter of the library, and in terms of the proceedings here this evening, it adds lustre to the proceedings. And tonight, the Minister is here to help us celebrate the achievements of a lot of hard work by many authors. The shortlisted authors are here with us tonight. It's a celebration for them. It's their night. And of course, the winners. And I just congratulate those who are to become the winners in a short time, and to thank them for the great work that they have done, and to thank those who are shortlisted also for the great work that they have put into preparing their works, and also all of the other entrants who may not have made the shortlist, but nonetheless put in a great deal of work to produce high quality and engaging work themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my very great pleasure to introduce our Minister, the Honourable John Graham, and welcome him to the podium. Thank you, John.
Great, thanks so much, George, and I do want to particularly thank you for your leadership of the Library Council. Thanks so much to Uncle Brendan Kerin for that welcome to country. I too will acknowledge that we're here on Gadigal land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. That connection to country that Uncle Brendan reminded us about reflects the tradition of storytelling on this land and the fact it goes back 65,000 years. Last year's Premier's Awards saw an impressive result for Indigenous writers, winning 7 categories. Of course, 4 of them were by the incredible Deborah Dank with her debut book, We Come With This Place. And it was a very welcome acknowledgement at last year's ceremony. So from 65,000 years ago to Sydney 2024, the storytelling culture continues here in the 45th year of the New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards. I'd like to acknowledge Gabrielle Upton, of course, Dr. Carolyn Butler-Bowden, and Elizabeth Mildwater, John Vallance. It's great to be able to welcome you back to the library, John. And I'd particularly like to welcome the Senior Judge of the Awards, Dr. Bernadette Bredin. Perhaps most importantly, I'd like to acknowledge all of the 60 shortlisted authors, many of whom are here tonight. This is your night. Congratulations. Now, you don't need me to tell you that our economy doesn't always do a great job of rewarding poetry, fantasy, critique or memoir. That's why awards like this are so important, because winning this award can be a huge career boost for a writer. Australia's cultural life would simply not be the same without writers like Peter Carey, Helen Garner, Kate Grenville and David Malouf, all previous winners of these awards. Each of them has influenced how we see this country and how humanity thinks about the world. Through Create New South Wales, our creative communities policy, the Public Library Network and the support of events like the Sydney Writers' Festival, the goal is clear. We want to see writing prosper and we want to see literature grow. On top of the economic challenge, though, of being an author, I do also want to acknowledge the challenging moment we're living in. Writers, publishers, festivals and libraries are coming under intense pressures over which books or writers they select. The ban of same-sex books by Cumberland Council was deeply concerning to me. And I do want to make it clear while we're here together, banning books, burning books These are not welcome in New South Wales. The public library guidelines prohibit it, and let me also be clear about this, we will not fund councils who breach those guidelines. Thankfully, several councillors changed their thinking. A 12-2 vote reversed the ban, and for now, we've headed off an attempt to take Australia down the path of some American states that are banning books at an accelerating rate. Finally, we think of ourselves as a tolerant society. Tolerance is easy when there's peace, but where there's conflict, tolerance can be hard, it can be painful or uncomfortable. I do believe that quality books are part of the solution here. In the fast-paced internet and social media age, we're often drowning in information, stripped of its context, nuance and depth. Books, to me, are our best medium for context, nuance and depth. Books are our best defence when it comes to combating intolerance. So tonight, among fellow book lovers, let's agree to fight to protect them. Let's treasure them and the people that write them. Thank you to the judges. Congratulations to the State Library. Congratulations to all the shortlisted authors. Have a great night.
Thank you, Minister Graham. I think your passion and dedication, of course, to your work and most importantly the arts, because that's what we're focused on here in this room, is clear, and the library looks forward to working with you closely into the future. It's now my very great pleasure to introduce the senior judge of this year's New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards, Dr. Bernadette Brennan, to present the awards. That is the reason why you're all here tonight. Bernadette Brennan is a critic and researcher of contemporary Australian writing. She's the author of a number of publications, including a monograph on Brian Castro and 2 edited collections, Just Words, Australian Authors Writing for Justice, and Ethical Investigations, Essays on Australian Literature and Poetics. In 2017, of course, she published her award-winning literary biography, A Writing Life, Helen Garner and Her Work. And her most recent work, Leaping into Waterfalls, the enigmatic Gillian Mears, won the Magarey Medal for Biography and the National Biography Award. Please welcome Bernadette.
Thank you, Dr. Butler-Bowden, and thank you, Brendan Kieran. I just think it's quite extraordinary, that welcome to country that Brendan gave us. In that story, he gave us the story of colonisation, the story of stolen generations, the story of racial stereotyping. All these issues continue to inform our imaginations, our history, our culture, our politics, and our writing. So thank you, even though he's gone now, for that welcome. And yes, I do need to acknowledge that I am standing, and we are gathered here tonight, on unceded, deeply storied Gadigal land, and I pay my respects to Gadigal elders past, and as Brendan told us, there are none present, but I pay my respects to all First Nations people in the audience here tonight or watching online at some point. So yes, tonight, while cognizant of the suffering and complexities facing so much of the world, as everyone has suggested, we are carving out a space for celebration. It's important to champion writers and publishers and the riches they offer us. As the poet and critic Felicity Plunkett said to me recently, books, and tonight we include scripts and screenplays, let us listen, learn, discover a different way of looking. This year we had over 830 entries to these awards. Yes, a lot. Tonight would not be possible without the diligence and commitment of our 32 judges. I cannot convey adequately how hard they have worked. Every one of them sacrificed weeks of their own time, their own creative practice in support of their peers. When judging panels work well, We learn from the texts we read, yes, but we also learn from and we support each other. I accepted the role of senior judge rather reluctantly. After decades as a literary judge, I felt it really was time for me to hand on the baton. But Sarah Fishwick convinced me to take it on, insisting that a significant part of the job was to look after the many judges who so generously and graciously give their time and expertise. From the first meeting of this year's judges, I have been in awe of their conscientiousness, their integrity, and their enthusiasm. The enthusiasm for the books, for the shortlisted authors, for the winners. It has been a privilege and honour to work with them. So before we go any further, I just want to say a public thank you to the judges from my behalf, and I'd ask you to give them a round of applause on their behalf. That's excellent, and that's just what they deserve. Okay, I'd like to call the Minister back to the stage to present the awards. So I'm pleased to say a number of the speakers we've had already tonight have emphasised the importance of every shortlisted author tonight, and every shortlisted text is a winner in the eyes of the judges, and they deserve appropriate recognition. But in order to keep these proceedings going, and there is wine and good food outside, I'd just ask you to save your applause to the end of each category. So the first award we award tonight for the evening is Debut Writers. It is the UTS Glenda Adams Award for New Writing. This award is sponsored by the University of Technology, Sydney, and has been since 2005. It is valued at $10,000. Last year, the award expanded from only debut fiction to encompass debut works across all award categories. It was a big change. Thank you to UTS for continuing to support this award. And the shortlisted works in this category are Elegy for an Elephant, Ryan Abramovich, Narratives of Nature. The Body Country by Susie Anderson, Hachette, Australia. Don't Ask What the Bird Looked Like, Hannah Bolensky, Queensland Theatre. You'll Never Find Me by Indiana Bell, Stakeout Films. Childhood by Shannon Burns, Text Publishing. Grace Notes by Karen Comer, Hachette, Australia. Anam by Andre Dow, Penguin Random House, Australia. As Good a Woman as Ever Broke Bread by Alex McInnes, Puncher and Watman. Firelight by John Morrissey, Text Publishing. And the winner is Anam by Andre Dow, Penguin Random House, Australia.
Thank you. I too want to acknowledge that I'm standing on the unceded lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and also to acknowledge that Anam was written on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I want to thank the judges and everyone else who worked so tremendously hard to make these awards possible. I also want to thank my publisher, Meredith Kerno, and everyone else at PRH for supporting this book. And also my agent, Claire Forster, who actually worked with Glenda Adams on her final book and told me that not only was she a brilliant writer, but a warm teacher and person. And so it's a great honour to win this prize awarded in her name. Finally, this book, Anam, is based on the life of my grandfather, who was he was an intellectual and a writer, and he was a political prisoner for 10 years. And so it would be remiss of me not to mention that some of the judges and some of the writers involved in this year's awards have been targeted and vilified for speaking out against the ongoing atrocities being committed by the Israeli government against people in Gaza and in the West Bank. So I want to say to you that I stand with you and that such attacks on writers and academics diminish us all. Thank you.
And now to the Multicultural New South Wales Award. This vital and vitally important award is generously sponsored by Multicultural New South Wales and is valued at $30,000. It covers works across all genres of writing which relate to any aspect of the Australian migration experience, aspects of cultural diversity and of multiculturalism in Australian society. The judges of this category were Randa Abdel Fattah, Sami Shah and Jennifer Wong. In various ways this year, the judges have taken some body blows, some more public than others. In echoing what Andre's just said, speaking for myself, I want to say that I was shocked and deeply saddened by the uninformed and destructive media campaign waged against Dr. Randa Abdel Fattah in her capacity as chair of this panel. It was entirely unacceptable. Let me state clearly and unequivocally that Randa, Sami and Jennifer, all too aware of the political tensions that would swirl around their choices, went to great efforts to respect and abide by the library's rigorous guidelines for impartiality and potential conflicts of interest. And it is so, because of that, with such great pleasure, that I now announce their brilliant and important shortlist. And the shortlisted works for the Multicultural New South Wales Award are Anam by Andre Dow, Penguin Random House Australia. The Shape of Dust, a father wrongly imprisoned, a daughter's quest to free him by Lamis Hamouda, Pantera Press. Stay for Dinner by Sandhya Parapukaran, illustrated by Michelle Pereira, Hardy Grant Children's Publishing. God Forgets About the Poor by Peter Politis, Ultimo Press. Non-Essential Work by Omar Sekar, UQP. And Songs for the Dead and the Living by Sarah Salah, Affirm Press. And the winner is Stay for Dinner by Sandhya Parapukaran, illustrated by Michelle Pereira.
Minister, State Library of New South Wales, esteemed guests, judges, and my friends. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I write, the Jagera and Turrbal people on Meanjin, Brisbane. 6 years ago, I never even imagined writing a book. 5 years after I penned my first story, I never imagined I'd be standing here receiving this award. I always felt a higher power guiding me with my stories, and my heart is filled with gratitude to God for guiding me. To my mum and dad, who instilled me with deep pride in our Kadala heritage, thank you. Dinner for my family has always been eating with our hands. But when I was a young reader, I had never seen a book with any of the food that I used to eat, or one where the characters ate with their hands. And now there is. And there are so many people that I have to thank for that, and no time, but I'll be brief and just name a few. Michelle Pereira, my co-creator, your art adds so much heart to stories, if you're watching. I couldn't imagine these books without you. My husband and children, who so lovingly and patiently are supportive while I try and be creative. Alison O'Brien, who can spot a good story in the messiest of manuscripts. My publisher, Hardy Grant, Pooja Desai, Joanna Wong, and all the team there who are so committed to diversity, they created an imprint for it. Finally, to every single reader who makes space on their bookshelf for diverse stories, thank you. Your actions help amplify underrepresented voices and normalise differences. Thank you for believing in the power of picture books to shape the future that we all want to see. Thank you.
And now for the Indigenous Writers' Prize. The Indigenous Writers' Prize acknowledges the significant contribution made to Australian literary culture by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander writers and is valued at $30,000. And the shortlisted works, as chosen by the judges, Michaelia Saunders, Amberlyn Quamelina and Luke Patterson, are close to the subject, selected works by Daniel Browning, Magabala Books. She is the Earth by Ali Cobby-Eckermann, Magabala Books. We Didn't Think It Through by Gary Lonesborough, Allen and Unwin Children's Publishing. Firelight by John Morrissey, Text Publishing. Personal Score, Sport, Culture, Identity by Ellen Van Neerven, UQP. And Praiseworthy by Alexis Wright, Giramondo Publishing. And this would have been a tough one. And the winner is She is the Earth by Ali Cobby-Eckermann, Magabala Books.
It's not often that I'm lost for words. I remembered one time out in the desert, early in my journey of reconnecting with my family, one of the nanas, Nellie, she's very well known, she was trying to teach me how to weave a basket and I wasn't very good and she was a little embarrassed. So I tried really hard, and we have a wonderful system of kinship. And quietly, I practiced and practiced, and I made a really beautiful basket. And by the end of the day, I had 28 grandmothers. And they were all smiling at me. It's one of my most beautiful memories of reconnecting my stolen generation story with my family. And somehow, She is the Earth feels like that smile. I too want to give love and respect to Gadigal and all the lineage of the Eora nations. I want to send love and respect to Magabala Books up in Broome. We launched She is the Earth up there on Aboriginal country. It was a beautiful evening. I want to pay love and respect to my agent, Jane Novak, and all her support of me on wobbly days. And love and respect to my family, which is a complicated statement because I have two families, the Cobby Yankunytjatjara family and the Eckermann German Lutheran family. Always know life is a journey, often complicated, sometimes cruel. I'm very proud to accept this award for all Aboriginal people marginalised in this country, who are rich, who stay rich in our knowledge and furnished to success by our resilience in the constant presence of our ancestors and our stories that continue to live in our land.
The Nick Enright Prize for Playwriting. It's valued at $30,000. The judges this year were Dylan Vandenberg, Peter Matheson and Alana Valentine. And the shortlisted plays are Telethon Kid by Alastair Baldwin, Malthouse Theatre. Don't Ask What the Bird Looked Like by Hannah Balensky, Queensland Theatre. Sex Magic by Nicholas Brown, Griffin Theatre and Currency Press. Unprecedented by Campion Descent, Hothouse Theatre. RBG of Many One, Susie Miller, Sydney Theatre Company and Currency Press. And Blue by Thomas Weatherall, Belvoir Street Theatre. And the winner is Sex Magic by Nicholas Brown, Griffin Theatre and Currency Press.
Oh, it's an honour to be here. Thank you so much to the State Library and to the incredible Nick Enright. He used to teach me many years ago, and I think he would have liked this play. I would also like to acknowledge that we're on Gadigal land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I think if I was Madonna, then this play would be my erotica album. And the fact that it's winning this award just goes to show how much this industry has changed, because this play is a South Asian, queer, tantric, mystery, Kathakali comedy. I really need to thank Declan Green, who was and is the most amazing dramaturg and co-director a playwright could ask for. And a huge thank you to Griffin Theatre for getting behind this risky, controversial play, I suppose. You have been absolutely incredible, Griffin Theatre, so thank you. And all of the incredible actors and creatives who were involved in the development of this show. They really contributed to the dramaturgy of this show, so I'm super grateful. Thank you to Currency Press. Thank you to Playwriting Australia. Thank you to Australian Plays Transform, Leela Enright, and Sydney World Pride. As an Indian-Australian brown artist and as a parent of children who identify as First Nations kids, I've been deeply affected, obviously, by the colonisation of both India and Australia. And despite the fact that this play is a comedy, at its core is a story about intergenerational trauma. So in light of that, I really need to say that I hope to see a ceasefire soon and a free Palestine. Also, my parents are here tonight and I want to thank them also. Thank you very much.
There's a lot of joy in this room tonight. It's good. Okay, now to the Betty Rowland Prize for Script Writing. The judges for this award were Katrina Irawati-Graham, Richard Kuipers and Genevieve Chang. And they noted one highly commended script in this category. And this happens sometimes because the judges are faced with such good works and they are restricted to six works, and sometimes you just have to make the notice of the audience of what else is going on. So they noted one highly commended script, which is The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart, Episode 1, Black Fire Orchid by Sarah Lambert, Made Up Stories and Amazon Prime. The scripts shortlisted for the $30,000 prize are The Giants by Rachel Anthony and Laurence Billet, General Strike and Matchbox Pictures. Safe Home, Episode 1 by Anna Barnes, Kindling Pictures. Late Night with the Devil by Colin Cairns and Cameron Cairns, Future Pictures. Poor Things by Tony McNamara, Searchlight Pictures and Element Pictures. Shader by Nora Niasari, Origma 45, Dirty Films and Paranda Pictures. And The New Boy by Warwick Thornton, Dirty Films and Scarlet Pictures. And the winner is Safe Home, Episode 1 by Anna Barnes, Kindling Pictures.
Thank you so much. This is so unbelievably scary. But it's just such an honour to even be mentioned in the same breath as those nominees. So this is an incredible moment for me. I have so many people to thank, so I wrote them all down. I want to thank our producer, Imogen Banks, Emmeline Palmer, Julie Eckersley at SBS, my amazing writing team, Michelle Law, Jean Tong, my agent, Candice, my mum, our director, Stevie Cruz-Martin, and the unbelievably talented cast and crew who all made this script into a TV show, which is still available to stream on SBS On Demand, if you want to watch it. So I created Safe Home after working for years in community legal centres in Melbourne. I worked for services that specifically helped women who are experiencing family violence. And there I saw firsthand how these underfunded services are buckling under an undeniably overwhelming demand. We are currently in the midst of an epidemic of violence against women in Australia. One woman every 4 days is being murdered, majority of whom by a partner or ex-partner. While I was in that job, I was really privileged to work alongside victim survivors who very courageously and generously told their story to the media. And I really think it's through listening to their stories and through listening to the expertise of the frontline workers that we're going to be able to get through this. So, yes, I'm done now. Thank you so much to the State Library. Also, sorry, I just have to add, it just feels very important to add my voice to the calls that many people have already said tonight, that we, writers inside this room and out, that we need an immediate and permanent ceasefire, an end to the siege on Gaza, because everyone deserves a safe home. Thank you so much.
And now to the books for younger readers, the Patricia Wrightson Prize for Children's Literature. Valued at $30,000 and judged by Matt Cosgrove and Jasmine Seymour. The shortlisted books are Leaf Light by Trace Balla, Allen and Unwin Children's Publishing. Picasso and the Greatest Show on Earth by Anna Feenberg, Allen and Unwin Children's Publishing. The Raven's Song by Zana Freylon and Bren McDibble, Allen and Unwin Children's Publishing. Songlines, First Knowledges for Younger Readers by Margot Neal and Lynn Kelly, and illustrated by Black Douglas, Thames and Hudson, Australia. Paradise Sands, A Story of Enchantment by Levi Pinfold, Walker Books, Australia. And Australia, Country of Colour by Jess Ratcliffe, Affirm Press. And the winner is Paradise Sands, A Story of Enchantment by Levi Pinfold, Walker Books.
This is brilliant. It's amazing, thank you. This is brilliant. Well, this book in particular kind of felt a bit like I was finding my way through a forest in the dark with no clear destination, no torch, and no sandwiches. And I wouldn't have found my way through without the kindness and support with so many people. But in short, I'd like to thank everyone at Walker here in Australia and everyone in the UK, but particularly Ben and Denise, who patiently listened to my ramblings about the art I was into and, much worse, dreams that I'd had, and gave me just about the best advice I could hope for. I'd like to thank Alison Eldred for leading me into the woods and for keeping me keen to forge ahead. And a huge thank you to everyone in this room, and all the organisers here, all the shortlisted people, and the judges. I think sharing stories with kids and young people is just super, super important. So thank you for supporting the creation of strange and varied and interesting voices and things for us all to experience. And lastly, I'd like to thank my family, never-ending kindness of my wife, and to my 2 kids, Sal and Jessie. So thank you very much to everyone, and have a lovely evening.
And now to the books for young adults, the Ethel Turner Prize for Young People's Literature. It's valued at $30,000 and judged this year by Y. Chim, Leanne Hall and Tim Sinclair. The shortlisted books are Royals by Tegan Bennett Daylight, Simon & Schuster, Australia. Grace Notes by Karen Comer, Hachette, Australia. The Quiet and the Loud by Helena Fox, Pan Macmillan, Australia. We Could Be Something by Will Kostakis, Allen and Unwin Children's Publishing. And We Didn't Think It Through by Gary Lonesborough, Allen and Unwin Children's Publishing. And Selfie by Elaine L. Webster, Text Publishing. And the winner is The Quiet and the Loud by Helena Fox, Pan Macmillan, Australia.
I now have to find my little speechy speech. Gosh, okay, this is really wild. I do want to acknowledge that I'm here on Gadigal land and just pay my respects to the people of the Eora Nation and acknowledge that I wrote my book on beautiful, beautiful Dharawal country, and I'm grateful every day to live there. I'd like to thank the judges so very much for this enormous honour. The State Library of New South Wales and the Premier's Office. It's such an honour to be here with my amazing fellow nominees, all you lot, celebrating all your amazing books. Well done, well done. I want to thank my editors, Claire Craig at Pan Macmillan Australia and Jessica Dandino Garrison at Dial/Penguin Random House in the US. I'd like to thank them for their immense kindness and patience as I fumbled and fell and finally found my way to this finished book. And a big thanks to my lovely agent, Catherine Drayton, who always stands by me so beautifully, and all the teams at Pan Macmillan, Dial, Penguin Random House, and Inkwell. Thanks for all your support. A huge thank you to my beautiful family, especially my mum, to whom this book is dedicated and is in the audience, and I didn't tell her I was winning this, so surprise! And my kids, Kit and Tobias, who are my greatest friends and inspiration. I love you so much. I want to say that as a survivor of both childhood trauma and long-term domestic violence, and as someone who wrote this book not only through bushfires and COVID and a climate crisis, but also through a personal storm of complex trauma and grief, this prize and this recognition honours not only me, but anyone who is finding and using their voice and speaking out against injustice and harm. I want to dedicate this moment to all the victim survivors and their allies, to all the protesters and the agitators and the questioners, and anyone who refuses to be silenced and made small, especially while trying to make the world a kinder and better place. We all deserve to speak, to be heard, to be safe, and have a future. Thank you so much.
And now to the Kenneth Slessor Prize for Poetry, as judged by Felicity Plunkett, Kim Cheng Bowie, and Rico Craig. 2 titles were noted as highly commended in this category, and they were Like to the Lark by Stuart Barnes, Upswell Publishing, and I Saw the Best Memes of My Generation by Dominic Symes and Recent Work Press. Look, since there's been a few giggles, I've got to say I would give that a prize for the best title of any poetry book, but I'll stay professional. And the shortlisted poetry collections for the $30,000 prize are Hunger and Predation by Pooja Mittal Biswas, Cordite Publishing. Moon Race by Willow Drummond, Puncher and Watman. Burn by Libby Hart, Lepus Print. Spore or Seed by Caitlin Mailing, Fremantle Press. Non-Essential Work by Omar Saker, UQP. Riverbed Sky Songs by Teas Rose Way, Vagabond Press. And the winner is Riverbed Sky Songs by Teas Rose Way, Vagabond Press. Teas was unable to join us in person this evening, but she's left us a video message.
I would like to acknowledge and pay my deepest respect to the Arakwal custodians of sovereign Bundjalung land, waters and sky, from where I record today and from where the entirety of my book was written. It is an incredible honour to receive the Kenneth Slessor Award, and I would like to thank the wonderful generosity of the judges and everyone involved in the New South Wales Premier Literary Award for making this possible. I would also like to thank Create New South Wales for financially aiding in bringing my book to life. Riverbed Sky Songs is an ode to the legacy of labour, power, courage and love of First Nation writers who came before us, and an offering of an ember to future generations who will keep the fires of care and culture burning. Every poem is equally for my family, the people I come from, for their incredible strength and power and softness. I extend my gratitude to Samuel Wagan Watson for his very generous time, friendship, humour and unending support of my book. I would also like to thank Grace Lucas Pennington for editing my book with such kindness and precise skill and care. And of course to Michael Brennan at Vagabond Press for his incredible kindness, patience and trust in the very specific vision that I had for my book's evolution. I thank my wonderful, loving family for their support in the process. And lastly, I want to thank my beautiful partner Heath and our sweet son Miro for the rich inspiration gained from each shared moment on riverbanks and by seasides upon which each poem took its first breath. Thank you.
The judges for the Douglas Stewart Prize for Non-Fiction were Patty Miller, Sarah Mullick, Ryan O'Neill, Kate Holden and James Jiang. This award, valued at $40,000, is for non-fiction, and the shortlisted works are Childhood by Shannon Burns, Text Publishing; Ghosts of the Orphanage, a story of mysterious deaths, a conspiracy of silence and a search for justice by Christine Keneally, Hachette, Australia. Here Be Monsters, Is Technology Reducing Our Humanity by Richard King, Monash University Publishing. Our Concealed Ballast by Marion Mackin, Vagabond Press. Personal Score, Sport, Culture, Identity by Ellen Van Neerven, UQP. And The God of No Good by Sita Walker, Ultimo Press. And the winner is Ghosts of the Orphanage, a story of mysterious deaths, a conspiracy of silence and a search for justice by Christine Keneally.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let me start by paying my respects to the Gadigal people. Thank you so much to the judges and everyone at the State Library. It's really extraordinary to be here tonight, surrounded by people who love books and people who write books and people who care about the written word. It's hard to write. It's really hard, and I think it's been really tough in the world of the arts since COVID. So to be in the celebration, to be acknowledged and supported and validated in this way is really just absolutely extraordinary. Thank you so much to everyone at Hachette who helped get this book out the door, especially Vanessa Radnich. Thank you. I want to thank my sister. She's here with me tonight. I'm not going to point because she'll be really mad at me later if I do, but she's here because she's a very lovely and supportive person, but she's also here because she was the first person who read the manuscript of my book. And I think everyone in this room tonight who's written something has that person, or if they're lucky, those people in their lives, the people who trudge through our pretty terrible first drafts so that no one else actually has to. But of course, the book really owes its existence to all the people who told me their story for the book, the former residents of 20th century institutions. They wanted their story out there, but it cost every single one of them to tell me about what happened to them. So I want to thank them, the orphans, the survivors, the incredible clannies of Australia. If you know, you know what that means. Thank you so much. Cheers.
The judging panel for the Christina Stead Prize for Fiction was Fiona Stager, Miles Allenson, Enza Gandolfo, George Haddad and Kate McClymont. The shortlisted books for this award, valued at $40,000, are The Sun Walks Down by Fiona McFarlane, Alan Unwin. Prima Facie by Susie Miller, Pan Macmillan, Australia. The Sitter by Angela O'Keeffe, UQP. Shirley by Ronnie Scott, Penguin Random House, Australia. The Crying Room by Gretchen Sherm, Transit Lounge. And Praiseworthy by Alexis Wright, Giramondo Publishing. And the winner is The Sitter by Angela O'Keeffe, UQP.
The Sitter was written on Gadigal land, and I acknowledge and thank the Gadigal people. It is an honour to be alongside the other writers on the shortlist. Thank you to the judges for your deep and generous contemplation of The Sitter. Fiona Wright said in a review, that for all of its interest in art, The Sitter is at its heart a novel about grief and love. I agree. When I was halfway through, that's why I've quoted her. When I was halfway through writing The Sitter, my first grandchildren, twins, Caroline and Frida, were stillborn. In the months after, as I continued to write, I came to realise that my heartbreak was given a different life somehow in the fiction that appeared on the page. I accept this award in their names. Speaking of children, I implore the politicians in this room and those beyond it to speak up for the children of Gaza, who for almost 8 months have been relentlessly targeted and killed by Israel. Silence is unconscionable. I want to thank my publisher, Aviva Tuffield, who I know is over here somewhere. Aviva, working with you on this book was pure joy. Thanks for your editorial brilliance and for your general brilliance as a human. Thanks also to Margot Lloyd, Jean Smith and all at UQP. To my agent, Martin Shaw, who is watching from Germany right now. Martin, thank you for championing this book and finding it the perfect home at UQP. Finally, heartfelt thanks to my husband, Jeff, for your unflagging support as I wrote and dreamed The Sitter into being. Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 more awards to go. And the first of them is the University of Sydney People's Choice Award. Over recent weeks, the public voted for their favourite book, shortlisted for the Douglas Stewart Prize for Non-Fiction and the Christina Stead Prize for Fiction. The winner receives $5,000 thanks to the University of Sydney, who have sponsored this award for the second time. And we thank the University of Sydney for their support. And the winner is The God of No Good by Sita Walker, Ultimo Press.
Thank you. I did write something down. Congratulations to the other shortlisted authors. I'm so pleased to be in your company. I'm an English teacher. I'm from Queensland. I've taught a lot of your work to my students, and so I'm so surprised to be here. It's surreal. Thank you to the judges. You've read a lot of books, and I know how that feels. Thank you so much for your kind comments. I've read everyone's, and I really appreciated it. And thank you to the University of Sydney for your generosity. It comes very much in handy. Thank you. Thank you to the voters, the readers, my friends and colleagues and my students at Mansfield State High School who I definitely bribed. Thank you very much, kids. They'll be thrilled. Thank you to everyone at Ultimo Press. All of them are resoundingly terrific. I'm sure people in this room know who they are, especially my publishing editor, Bridget Mullane, who is small but mighty. And let's make some more sweet, sweet books together, Bridge. And thank you very much to my beautiful family. The God of No Good is a memoir, and I was not the only brave person in writing it. Thank you very much to my mum and dad who are watching from Toowoomba on their computer. I hope they managed to figure out how to work the link. Love you, mum and dad. I hope you're proud. Thank you to my sweetheart, Anthony, for his being a hilarious and insightful sounding board for my work and always championing me. I love you, sweetheart. And lastly, thank you to my kids and their dad, my big girl Layla, my baby boy Leo, and especially my middle son, Will, who I'm so happy is here with me tonight. He's my reader. And even though he hates crowds and he hates to leave the bush, he came all the way to Sydney with his mum tonight and asked if he could arm wrestle the Premier of New South Wales to assert his dominance over the Blues. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight, but I'm sure the Minister for Arts would be happy to oblige. This is a lovely surprise and it's a great privilege to be here. Thank you very much.
Okay, and now the last and the big one, the Book of the Year. Firstly, congratulations to all category winners and to all shortlisted authors. Each of these winners of each category are made eligible for Book of the Year. And past winners of this award include Michelle de Kretser, Nam Lee and Ellen Van Nerven, who's been shortlisted twice tonight. Without further ado, I am delighted to announce that the Book of the Year for 2024 is She is the Earth by Ali Cobby Eckermann, Magabala Books. Ali, if you want a minute to compose yourself, I have a sentence from the judges here. The judges described She is the Earth as a stunning verse novel that takes the reader on a journey of love and grief through land, sky and water and all places in between. And they noted that each word reads as a gift to the reader. Over to you.
I really want Australia to stop taking children away from their Aboriginal families. And the biggest gift in my life was finding my family, meeting my mother, my brother and sister, the whole mob, and that the Eckermann family supported and didn't fall into all the prejudice supporting my journey. But I think life's not about the people, because we're here for a short time. And yes, I'm very grateful, and I would have a huge list of people to thank. But trauma teaches you to look deeply. I do want to thank the people who can be kind, not at the expense of someone else. I do plead that the world becomes a kinder place, as we've heard from most of the others, that the bombs stop, starvation stops, the harvesting stops, the messing stops. And for me, who first ran away at 17 to a little place on the Nullarbor called Aldia and found out 17 years later that my mother had been born under a tree there. Stop mining my country.
Thank you, everyone, and congratulations again to all the winners and all those shortlisted tonight. This now concludes the awards ceremony. Please join me in a final round of applause for all the winners tonight and all those shortlisted. I would like to say a special thank you to the senior judge, Dr. Bernadette Brennan, and her 31 fellow judges for their work. And once again, acknowledge our sponsors, Create New South Wales, Multicultural New South Wales, the University of Technology, Sydney, and the University of Sydney. Now, you've heard all about these great books, now you need to buy them. The library shop is out there and selling copies of all the winning and shortlisted books tonight. Everyone who purchases a book also gets a wonderful copy of Open Book, our fantastic magazine. And of course, in it, in this particular issue features words by a number of authors speaking at this week's Sydney Writers' Festival. And now I'm going to take a moment to thank my team, the calm, talented, brilliant, hard-working staff at the State Library of New South Wales. Lydia Tasker, Danielle Baldry, Richard Neville, Claudine Wheeling, Vanessa Bond, and all the rest. You have been outstanding in your assistance to me on my maiden voyage as State Librarian, but also in helping the institution to administer the New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards. I also want to give a shout out to John Vallance, who of course is my predecessor. He too has been at the end of the telephone a few times, more than a few times. Thank you, John. Thank you to George Souris, an amazing president of the Library Council, and in his 9th year in that role, and the Library Council. Every single one of them is here tonight. I think that tells you about how hardworking they are in leading the council. So a big, big thank you, of course, to all of them, to all of you for joining us for this celebration of writing in this great state. I now invite the winners to come forward, when I finish in a sec, to the stage for a group photograph. Please enjoy the party outside, the drinks and the refreshments, and a big thank you to the Sydney Con. How great were the students who performed for us before we came in. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic evening.